Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. The big story today is the Aryan Khan case. In October, a young 24-year-old boy was arrested on allegations of drug peddling, of being involved in an international conspiracy. Today, the NCB has concluded that they have absolutely no evidence against him whatsoever. When the charge sheet was filed in court, his name was not there. So there's a key critical question I want to put today. Is Aryan Khan owed an apology? Is a 24-year-old boy held in jail for 25 days, against whom all sorts of suspicions and rumors were leaked? Is he owed an apology for the suffering he's been through? That's the key question I shall put today to the lawyer who's held and got him bail and then later on got him his release today, former Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi. Mr. Rohatgi, let me start with that simple, blunt question. Is Aryan Khan owed an apology?
Karan, firstly, under the law, there is neither a provision for apology nor a provision for automatic compensation when an authority admits that it has no case. But if one lives in a disciplined society, governed by rule of law, governed by certain laws, governed by some do's and don'ts, an apology would be in order in this case and in many other cases across the spectrum where people spend not days but weeks and months and years in jail having been arrested and finally no charge sheet comes about. That is what is the endemic situation which is happening in this country. And if an apology does come, I think the stature of the NCB would rise. To admit a mistake is not a crime. And the people who are watching this case or who have been concerned with this case would also feel happy that here is an authority which has admitted that it made a mistake.
So just for clarification, there are not any legal grounds for an apology, but there are moral grounds for an apology. A mistake has been made.
So. I would say so.
Now, the Director General of the NCB, Pradhan, has gone on record on several television channels to say that the initial investigation was full of lapses. He's admitted to irregularities. He's even said action could be taken against the initial investigators. But, and this is my question, when NDTV asked him whether the arrest was justified, I'm quoting his answer. In investigation, subsequent facts clear up the matter, so I won't jump to blame the initial investigation. Now, how can you say you won't jump to blame the initial investigation when you've already accepted there were lapses, there were irregularities, and action can be taken against the investigators? So how can you say both things at the same time?
I think what he has said is a kind of contradiction in terms. What he probably means is that when you arrest a person immediately upon a crime being committed, at that stage, you have not completed your investigation. The investigation is completed post-arrest after 6 months or 8 months. And then you realize that you had no material. That's one. And two, about the issue of lapses in the investigation and in the whole saga, well, I am not privy to it. He is welcome to hold an inquiry internally to find out what is wrong and make amends. But as far as this case is concerned, there was no credible shred of material at the time of arrest. And therefore, I say that the arrest was completely wrong. You know, Karan, there are many cases where an arrest may seem justified today because of circumstances. But investigation may show that it is not proper to charge a person with a crime. Let's take a case. Say there is a husband and a wife in a house. The wife is found dead. Husband is the last seen person. There would be normal suspicion and the husband may be arrested. But after 6 months or 3 months, it is found that he had nothing to do with it. He would be released. But in this case, there was no credible suspicion. Because in a case of drugs, you have to have it on your person. You have to have it under your control. If you are in a car and the dicky has drugs, you are deemed to be in control. If you are in a house and you have conscious possession, you are deemed to know. If you have it in your pocket, well, you are carrying it. Or you have just had drugs, you have ingested drugs. There has to be some credible aspect of this possession of material. And the law says conscious possession. Not if I hide, a packet of drugs under your pillow and you don't know about it. That is not conscious. But conscious possession is a must, or ingesting the drug. Now, none of it is there. I mean, this is a physical thing. Either you have the drug or you don't have the drug. And if you don't have the drug, then there's no way that you should have been arrested. Therefore, the arrest was wrong. Whether the investigation was shoddy, people are talking about one Mr. Wankhede. I am not privy to the nature of investigation. Well, if it was shoddy, they should hold an inquiry and make persons accountable. That is, they must put their house in order.
Two quick questions. Right through the process of the trial when it was happening, right through, the period before he got bail, during those 25 days when he was in jail, leaks were being deliberately given to the media. It was alleged that he was part of an international conspiracy. It was alleged that he was peddling drugs. Now, we don't have official confirmation where those leaks came from, but it's almost absolutely certain they came from the NCB. Is it proper for any authority of the government to leak in this way against a 25-year-old boy and end up damaging his reputation and causing him and his family enormous mental suffering?
Well, I think it is completely improper for any agency to leak these kind of things.
Carry on.
Sorry. It is completely wrong morally and legally to leak these kind of prejudicial things and remarks against a person who is in custody, who cannot defend himself against these leaks, and who is facing trial. And if their inquiry is being held by the director should also hold an inquiry into these things. And if I remember, Karan, two specific issues where there was a man, if I remember, a bald person, trying to take a selfie with Aryan Khan, talking about it, probably in the office of the NCB, and a second gentleman where where somebody talked about extortion and then he died because of a heart attack. So there are some mysteries there. Some loose ends have to be tied up. It would augur well for the director and the NCB to hold an in-depth inquiry right from the time that he was arrested till today to find out what those loose ends were, tie them up, and publicly tell the public as to what the situation is.
What about the behavior and the manner in which Sameer Wankhede handled this case? Should it A, be inquired into, and B, more importantly, should action be taken against him?
No, see, Karan, I am not privy to what Wankhede did. I don't know the gentleman. I don't want to make any comments about any individual because it would seem that one is talking about retribution. Not a case for retribution. The director will hold an inquiry, and if it is found that Wankhede or anybody else acted irresponsibly, wrongly, rashly, then departmental action can be taken. It is taken every day. Government servants are subject to service rules, then that should happen.
My last question, and I'm deliberately going to ask you about my own tribe journalists. You know that right through the 25 days that young boy was in jail, there were daily television discussions, sometimes 24 hours a day. Newspapers had huge articles speculating. All of this was based on leaks. Not one official was prepared to go on record to substantiate the information that was given. And yet television continued to hold discussions. Newspapers continued to write articles. What is your view of the way the media behaved and the way the media covered this case?
See, it's my lament that media conducts a mini trial the moment a sensational case kind of breaks. They forget what the Lakshman Rekha is. Namely, they have to put the facts. They don't have to become either the judge or the accuser or the accused. That's for the court to decide. But unfortunately, there are so many media channels in this country, and I don't think they have so much material that for 24 hours, if you have to go on, you just pick up one or two things and you kind of keep on at it till you kind of kill it. And everybody should realize that there's a Lakshman Rekha. Media can jolly well prejudice the mind of a judge, though a judge is legally trained. But if a judge also sees TV, reads a newspaper, and constantly one is branded as an accused, etc., it does have an imperceptible effect on the mind of any individual. So all the media channels, whether newsprint or electronic, they would do well to realize what their role is. Their role is to break the news and show what has happened, not determine by virtue of these kind of panel discussions where people pontificate and either declare a person as acquitted or as convicted. That really impacts the trial. It impacts the life and liberty of the person concerned.
I will myself readily accept and admit that the media comes out of this very poorly. But what I want to ask you is the NCB and its image also damaged and dented?
Obviously, it is damaged, but Karan, in this country, there are things happening every moment, every hour. One news comes today, another news takes over tomorrow. Today's news becomes stale and you forget it. So that's how it kind of moves on. But as I said in the beginning, when I was talking to you, if they were to come, make an apology and say we committed a mistake, their stature would really rise and people would realize that, look, a mistake has been made. So let's move forward. I think that's what the director should think about and maybe do whatever he has to do.
My very last question, and I ask it because you've been a very illustrious former Attorney General. What is the lesson our system as a whole needs to learn from this experience?
First of all, a reiteration strongly by the highest court in the land that merely because you have the right to arrest should not follow, and the law should be reiterated that arrest is a matter of last resort when you cannot ensure that the culprit will face the trial, that he may not run away, he may not influence witnesses. It is for that reason that you arrest a person. So you require a reiteration of this law, which is already well settled by the highest court of the land. It should then filter to the high courts. It should then filter to the district courts, and then it should filter to the first level courts of magistrates. The law does not empower or allow a person to arrest merely because you have the power of arrest. Number two, a law should be made providing for some automatic compensation for a person who has been wrongly arrested or convicted by the state. And state means local police, central police, and all the prosecution agencies. In various countries in the world, you have compensation rules. In our country, you don't have any compensation rules. So, but you are free to sue for false imprisonment or malicious prosecution, as it may be. But I mean, if it's going to take a lifetime and you're not going to get anything out of it, nobody does that. I have not seen really any case, going to its full trial of malicious prosecution or wrongful arrest or imprisonment. That just doesn't happen. It happens in rare cases. I mean, if you remember, 40 years ago, Bhim Singh, who was an MLA in J&K, he was arrested by the local police, picked up, and because they didn't want him to vote. His wife moved the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court found that he was wrongly arrested. It gave him a compensation of some 25,000 or something. But that's few and far between. You have to file a case in a lower court, it will take you a lifetime or more to prove compensation. So there's no point of talking about compensation. There should be rules of automatic compensation, depending on the length of incarceration and other things. These are a couple of things. And lastly, and most important, all the prosecution agencies in this country should put their heads together, write down some do's and don'ts, that please don't arrest right in the beginning just because you have the power of arrest. Think about it, ruminate about it, be sure about your arrest, and then only arrest as a measure of last resort, because you are playing with somebody's liberty, because that time is not going to come back again. If a couple of these things happen, I'm sure we will be on a good and a healthy track.
Mr. Rohatgi, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you.
Candidly, openly, and so fully. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe. And my congratulations to you as well. My congratulations to you.
No, that's all right, Karan. I do so many cases. So, I don't take it as a congratulation. A win is good, but you lose some, you win some. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Take care.
Bye.